everybody, and welcome back to the Fortress of Solitude. Today we're going to be talking about the Ultimates issue 17 by Dennis Camp and Phil Noto. Time for Earth 6160 is almost at an end, but that doesn't stop the Ultimates from working day and night to figure out how to save the world once the Maker returns. One of the heroes working tirelessly is Doom, who continues to figure out a way to fill the void in his life and create the Fantastic Four again. Just like with the amazing Ultimates issue 4, which was another Doom-focused issue, this issue is as well, and just like issue 4, it's broken into 4 separate points of time, represented by 4 different lines of panels, with the first panel line at the top of each page chronicling 6160 Reed Richards' life. The second panel down is Doom using the Immortus engine to try and develop a machine to give powers to people and recreate his lost family. Third panel down focuses on Doom creating Project 4, hoping to recreate the Fantastic Four from Luke Cage's people in prison. And the fourth and final panel line is Doom reckoning with what he has done and how it has ruined his life. I get really excited when a comic gets creative with its paneling and a writer collaborates very closely with an artist to ensure it works, and Camp has done it yet again with Phil Noto, who did the same with issue 4. I'm going to review this book in order of each panel line, starting with the top panels of every page, which is all about Reed's life with how he was a very gifted child, getting to his third PhD by 14, and it's not something that stops him from making friends with especially the much older Ben Grimm. Eventually, Reed's genius allows him to build a device which will harness cosmic rays, and he wants to find a way to harness them in order to help stop diseases and maybe even prevent death. During his tests, he meets Sue Storm, and both begin forming a romantic relationship. We saw a lot of this back in issue 4. We got to see the results of the Makers meddling during all of this, and I like that this is kind of filling in the gaps from that issue. It's showing us things we didn't really see or only got to see very briefly before the Maker couldn't stand any of this and decided to destroy the man he once was. Eventually, Reed, Sue, Ben, and Sue's brother Johnny get ready to head into space for their cosmic ray experiment, which ends badly and leads to Sue, Ben, and Johnny being killed, which we later learn was because of the Maker intervening. With Reed the only one left, Maker tortures him, making him adopt the name Doom and sealing him in his metal armor, all for the Maker's own sick enjoyment. Reed soon has a piece of his brain taken out by the Maker, who tells him the portion of the brain is responsible for the big ideas, and he cut it out so he stops getting the feeling he gets when he unlocks something big, meaning he could never actually recreate the experiment to give his family powers. Maker also demands that Reed become his assistant and make him a time machine, but before he does that, he tortures Reed some more so he stops calling himself Reed Richards and only refers to himself as Doom. I just never tire at how cruel the Maker is and just how utterly petty he is as well. Just years go by and he's torturing this guy just because he hates what he looks like. He hates himself, and so he's taking it out on this man and also ensuring that this man does not, rise up and try and stop him, because of course Reed, or this Maker, believes the only person who can stop him is himself, because he's just so full of himself. As the years move on, Maker becomes more and more cruel and abusive to Reed, who can't create Maker's Immortus engine. Thanks to this, Maker brings in Howard Stark, and after the events of Hickman's Ultimate Invasion, he meets Tony Stark, who wants Doom to help fix the world, beginning with the formation of the Ultimates. As the team fight Maker's cabal, Doom learns of what he and his family were meant to become, the Fantastic Four, vowing to fix what Maker did, so he begins testing his cosmic ray experiments on mice, finding they always die, but he knows that when the mice stop dying, the Fantastic Four will return. The second lot of panels is probably the most interesting and creative of the lot, as it sees Doom using the Immortus engine to see his past and how he was unable to help Sue and the others from dying, thinking that he was responsible for getting Sue sick from the cosmic rays. Things get really interesting as well. Doom tries to work on a solution to help his family. We get an amazing visual here where big portions of the panels are missing, and the erased parts form the outline of Sue, Johnny, and Ben, and Doom can actually see them, almost like they're huge pieces of his life that have literally been erased, and he is incomplete without it. It's just a simple visualization, just empty space on the page, but it's used so damn effectively by Noto and Camp. It's like these ghosts are literally hanging over Doom's very shoulders as he works, and it pushes him to his limits. But even he knows that nothing he creates will break through the time barrier that is preventing him from traveling back in time and stopping the Maker and saving his family. He will always fail, so instead he creates a device that will give powers via the same cosmic rays that his family were meant to get them. Doom tells his missing family around him that he is doing this to honor them, since he owes them for it. There's also this real sobering moment here when Doom, and you kind of realize it yourself when you're reading it, that Doom is going to get revenge on the Maker, and once that's done, he feels that his place in the world is effectively over, he has nothing really else going. So he wants to join his family, which I guess is him hinting at that he plans on either dying while fighting the Maker, maybe killing himself after the battle, but it ends with him finally finding peace by being with his family, and that means being dead. The third panel line follows on after Doom's creation of the Cosmic Ray device in the beginning of Project 4, which is Doom's project for Luke Cage's prison inmates. He demonstrates the project on willing inmates, showing how thanks to America Chavez's powers, they will be bombarded with small amounts of cosmic radiation, and while their powers will be random, they will indeed get powers, but the choice is solely on the inmates. Every single one of them chooses to go ahead with it, and a while later, they have all been given various powers, along with some color-coded costumes. Doom wants them to organize into small balanced teams of 4, and thanks to the Immortus engine, they'll have relative years to train together. I love this idea of creating multiple Fantastic Fours to try and figure out that correct balance of the team. What was that secret sauce that works so well with the original Fantastic Four, and they're trying to recreate that right here. I also feel there's kind of a little bit of a meta commentary, maybe I'm just reading a bit too much into it, but I feel like there's that bit of meta commentary about lots of books trying to do that with some teams, trying to find that sort of winning combination of both characters and powers that work well together, and it's something the Fantastic Four has done so well, and so many teams have tried to ape that to varying effect, and that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing all these different teams where some of them are working out kind of well, some just don't work at all, and I like that Doom is kind of running through all of that right now. Eventually he begins pushing the teams more and more, and it seemingly works, with them making a big dent in the Maker's infrastructure, but he wants to expose his soldiers to more and more higher doses of the radiation, but his tests stop when he meets Magna, one of the many powered people he created. The woman reminds Doom of what she was told when they started this trial, that death is creative and painful, and it's what would happen to them if Doom got the cosmic dosage wrong, but she is living proof that he succeeded, and instead of pouting, he should be celebrating with them. She won't take no for an answer. Doom ends up going to celebrate with his friends, and what have now become called the Fantastic Force, before returning and promising himself the unseen Sue, Ben, and Johnny that they will all be together in death. Like I was saying before, he's planning on killing himself or getting himself killed so he can join his family. The fourth and final panel line finds Doom going to see Tony, having some vital information for him. Tony is just a tad distracted thanks to having the Immortus engine embedded in his chest, so he's dealing with a myriad of different time-related problems. Still, he listens to Doom as the man reminds Tony that he used to be called Reed Richards, and in another universe he was Mr. Fantastic, leader of the Fantastic Four and a great hero. Tony's mind starts to wander thanks to the Immortus engine, and you can kind of tell that he just doesn't really want to be there. He's got some other things to deal with. But he tells Doom to look to the future and not to the past, but Doom says he can't let it go, knowing that he used to be Reed Richards in one universe, and in another universe, that Reed Richards became the Maker, and what happened to him there in this universe is all his own doing, as he is the Maker. I'm glad that Doom is, kind of going over this in his mind. It's kind of come up before, but I don't think we really had that issue where it kind of had him kind of unpack all of what has become of himself. He is the Maker. He is himself doing all of this to himself, and the type of psychological effect that would have on someone is just immense, and we've seen that on Doom. Doom has become compromised. He can no longer focus on his work because of what he knows he can be. Because of this and what he has seen, Doom decides to step away from the Ultimates, since every plan and insight he has had, the Maker would have had as well. So Doom is compromised and must not be part of the Ultimates anymore. Tony, however, already knew about this thanks to this very conversation, since because of the Immortus engine, he had this very conversation with Doom months ago, although he forgot how it actually ended. Doom is angered that Tony never said anything, but Tony knows it wouldn't have changed anything and they'd still be in this exact same position. Doom believes that though it's hopeless and always has been, as he was meant to fail. Tony wants to go and deal with actual problems, but he knows that he can't force Doom to stay in the Ultimates, but the team need him now more than ever. As Doom goes back to his experiments, Hank Pym comes to see him, revealing that everyone seems to know that Doom is also the Maker and it's all over the altnet. Now, this is something I didn't think we'd be getting, though, especially the mention of like Doom and the Maker, the big reveal being all over the altnet. And I know we're not going to get anything of this, which is really disappointing, but there is like a story there you could tell about how people, like just normal people, finding out that the Maker and Doom, this guy they've seen running around with the Ultimates, is the same guy. Like you could have people use that against the Ultimates, trying to villainize the Ultimates even more. But then you could also have that other side where the Maker's grand plan, you know, accounted for all this. It was all part of the plan sort of thing. Like you could do something really interesting with that, and it's a shame we're not going to actually see any of that because the book's obviously ending very, very soon. It just feels like there was a lot of things here that I know Camp maybe wanted to get to at some point, but we're never actually going to see, and it's a little frustrating because it's all written so damn well. Doom says that he's considered leaving the team, and Hank thinks that he's done that probably 100 times a day since he joined. But Captain America told him one thing, and that is his failures aren't his failures, and he was told that back when he learned of the other world's Hank Pym and what he has done. And the same applies to Doom here, since he decides what he's going to be. What a great use of Hank Pym, the most normal, everyday guy member of the group, getting to be the one who gives one of the most powerful members of the group a pep talk and actually have a great lesson for Doom to learn. And it's kind of like one of those classic, you know, smart guy tropes where it's like the most simplest thing to think about, you know, just be who you want to be, you know, be your own man. It's not something that like a smart man would think about, because he would think of all the complex variations and all that sort of stuff, and it's a little tropey, but I don't mind it. It makes sense. It makes sense for someone like this Doom, or something like Reed Richards would learn. Doom, however, doesn't think that he is well, and there are times when he feels like ghosts are looking over his shoulder, feeling like absences from his life. Hank actually knows what he means, seeing his own ghosts as well, only his are actually him before his accident. He doesn't think they ever go away, and while it bothered him, there's one thing he's actually thought about that made him feel better. He tells Doom that just because he is broken, it doesn't mean he needs to be fixed. This gives Doom a huge revelation. He doesn't need to bring his family back or anything like that to fill the gap. Hank also notices that the mice have stayed alive this time, and Victor manages to recreate the very same powers he and his family were meant to have. So following his own promise and his own words from before, he sets the mice free. What an incredibly powerful and satisfying conclusion here for Doom. We have a Reed Richards and a Dr. Doom who have managed to do something those two men famously have had a lot of trouble doing. That is letting go and realizing not every single thing needs to be a solved problem. And he managed to actually let go of his obsession and actually stop obsessing for a moment. It's just thoroughly satisfying to see Doom get that moment, but it's also kind of a little bittersweet since we won't get much of the man that makes him as the universe is coming to a close, so we won't get to see that kind of fully realized man, you know, come out of this. We'll probably see bits of it, but we're never going to get a full story dedicated to exploring that, and that's a little sad. The Ultimates issue 17 was an incredible bit of art, both in written and a visual form. Dennis Camp and Phil Noto were firing on all cylinders and working as one to complete the story of Doom they begun way back in issue 4. I adored everything they chose to do with Doom and his journey through this issue, and I'm interested to see what Doom will be now that he has let go of his obsession. What kind of man does he become? I'm going to give this issue a 10 out of 10.